Did that stress you? A lot of people feel stressed by that. In a recent report I saw on 60 Minutes, which is a well-known TV show, they conducted a report about cell phone addiction. And Anderson Cooper, the reporter, went into a research lab where they put some electrodes to his head and showed him a movie. What he didn't know was his cell phone was out of reach. He couldn't grab it. And he's a reporter for CNN. So the scientist in charge texted him all the time. And on the graph later, you could see every time that ping went off. So your phone stresses you obviously, even when you're not even near it. Our brain produces cortisol. Everybody here knows that. It's the reflex that you want to check your phone every 15 minutes. But it's not the only thing that really stresses you out. Imagine you sit in your job, in your cubicle, or at work, or in university, and you have a deadline, you have to hand in your term paper. You're really stressed out. And your boss puts even more on your table. And then this colleague comes to you and tells you, why is it not finished? And everybody here probably thought to themselves, man, relax, you should get late, really. Or you even thought, when you sit until midnight in the university library, maybe I should get late to release some of this tension. Today I want to talk about the stress self-consolidation, a really difficult word. The lost art of stress self-consolidation, a word you don't even hear that often anymore. What is a self-consolidation? But first, my grandma always told me to introduce myself. So I was born in Stuttgart, a town which is not really famous for its hectic. We are very chilled, we don't even get stressed with our train station, and it's probably not gonna finish in 2020 or somewhere ever. We don't care, we are relaxed with that. I had stressful jobs all my life. When I was 17, I became a nanny for a year, or as it's called, a nanny. These are two of the regrets I had. I had three, actually, for a whole year. And as you can see in this picture, I'm a fan of Stuttgart, the soccer team, and everybody who knows a little bit of soccer, they play shitty football. They don't play, most of the people, I wonder that they don't get heart attacks during the game every time. So stressful in every situation here. I worked for a famous pasta franchise for several years. We had a daily gross product of 30,000 euros a day, and I was in charge of partially that. But also I was cooking, that was the fun part. On my side gig is also hosting an event, so I know what these girls and guys here do every day. It's stressful, you run around and you organize people. I also coach the people, stand on stage with them, and this is also very stressful. And right now I'm also very stressed, of course. I have a high level of adrenaline right now. What I do right now, most of my days, is I do work in a call center, or as we want to be called a service center. Call center is such a slang and it's too hard for the people. So I work there and I see every day how my employees get infected with stress because they talk to annoyed customers, of course. So stress is very infectious, and I learned a way for myself to not get infected by that stress. And this I learned through a self-consolidation. Because if you can consolidate yourself in the face of stress, you will have a more effective and way more laid-back life. But first I want to talk to you about what is a consolidation. It's a word you probably, most of you, didn't even hear. Memories are produced in your brain, in your frontal lobe. They are produced there. That's what's called the first-hand memory. That's what you do tonight before you drink that much. And if you have a long-term memory, something out of your childhood, and basic memories like don't touch the hot plate, that is the long-term memory. It's in the hypothalamus, the red part here. And a consolidation is the in-depth storage, the process of short-term memory becoming a long-term memory. It's like when you go to the gym in January because you want to get fit, because you want to look like all those people in Health magazine. But after a while, you see that you don't even go there anymore. You know so many people raise your hand if you have a gym membership. Who goes there regularly, like every week? See? Because you started something, it started in the frontal lobe. It's a good idea to go to the gym. But because you didn't do it every day, because you didn't do it every week, after a while it got lost. And ask somebody who's a professional athlete, they couldn't even think of not doing sport every day because it's in their hypothalamus stored that they go to the sport every day. And what I want to tell you now is that you can do the same thing with stress. If you face a stressful situation, you realize it's a stressful situation and you need to handle or do something, then this process can help you. I wasn't always like this. I wasn't always the calm center of the storm whenever something stressful happened. I want to tell you about a particular day, actually, where I worked at that franchise chain. It was 6 o'clock in the morning when my day started. In my opinion, no time to start any day, but at 8 o'clock already 4 employees called in sick. When you think about that, we have 12 to 13 employees per shift. It's a third of everybody who quit that day or called in sick. So what happened? I had to do all of this. By 8 o'clock, our really nice and 1.50 meter tall person, Sibylle, she's the assistant to the regional manager, came in there and told me that she's going to audit my shift today and the whole restaurant at that. I told her the situation, and she told me that she doesn't care at all, and she will continue this audit anyway. So I started running around like a wild person, doing inventory, prepping in the kitchen, cooking myself, handling the guests, and a shift usually goes from 6 to 3 in the afternoon. So at 3 o'clock, I ran, and I was on fire. And I was really happy to see the next shift guy. We did our shift exchange, and I sat on the floor, actually, because the safe was on the floor. And of course, I told him what he can do, what his shift concerns and everything. We checked in the registers, like you do. And then the door came flying open. And Sibylle was screaming at us, "What are you doing here? The office is not in the restaurant. You have to go down there and work." So something in me happened because I was already over the top. And I started crying. And I couldn't stop crying anymore for like 5 minutes. I was 27 at that time. I didn't think as a 27-year-old man, you sit in an office and cry in your totally kitchen outfit with tomato sauce everywhere and tears coming down. Something I thought to myself, I'm never going to do that again. Never in my life I will come to this point. But I would be lying if I tell you that the next day everything was good. Because as I already told you in the picture before, it takes a while for that thing to come to your hypothalamus. So I had many other shitty days, but I told my brain every day that I'm not going to go there again. And sometimes I did, but I still told myself at night, not going to get again, every day. Our brains are especially what's of concern here, because the process which stresses us is a biological chain reaction. And usually, our ancestors, the Homo sapiens, which is 300,000 years old, it helped him to survive. It's called the fight-or-flight mode. The fight-or-flight mode told him that it was his own spider sense, as you can call it, that immediately he had to make a decision, fight or flight, and sometimes play dead, but that's not really interesting. So our ancestors had this, and we still have that too. Our brains are 300,000 years old. We still have the same. And what really happens here is that our brain, especially the amygdala, which is up here, signals immediately when our cell phones, for a change, ring, that our adrenal glands have to produce a hormone, which is called epinephrine. And the adrenal glands are the small yellow thingies on top there. So the epinephrine makes our lungs go wider, pump more air. Our heart will pump more of this oxygen into our muscles and, of course, into our palms. Who here gets sweaty palms when they're nervous? I'm more of a sweaty back guy, but that's not really better. Your muscles increase. Who here has heard the story of a mother lifting a car because the kid was under it? That is exactly what it's called. You turn into a super machine. And this process was actually supposed to be for 15 minutes. When the caveman fled from the tiger, he went into his cage, slept there. And he could sleep. Sibylle was not coming in to tell him to chase the lion again. But also to help you is this thing here. This is the golden way. And the golden way doesn't exist. It exists for me. This is my golden way. If you think some of these parts that I'm now going to present to you are of worth for you, copy them. Do it also yourself, because not everything's going to work, but some things I'm guarantee you will work. So music is for me something that always helped me. I work in a call center with 50 people on shift on the telephone. So whenever I have to do something and concentrate, I put on some headphones and listen to some relaxed, chill music. If you're more into death metal, listen to death metal. If that calms you down, everybody is different. The next part is something I copied from a coach called Anthony Robbins. He's pretty famous and all, but he has the 90-second rule. It's a pretty stupid thing, but it's totally working for me. So you set whenever you're angry, and most of us get angry at work because something is not working. And because we're grown-ups, we're not like children in a kindergarten and start screaming whenever we're angry. We suppress that anger until we go home. Don't do that. Put out your cell phone, set your timer to exactly 90 seconds, and then go Hulk. However you can. If you have a punching bag at work, punch that bag. If you can rage inside yourself, do that for 90 seconds exactly until that timer goes off. See if you're still angry. If you are, set the timer again to 90 seconds. I'm guarantee you after the 4th time you will feel so stupid that your whole anger is gone because you feel stupid about your anger. It's okay to feel angry, but we have to let it out and not suppress it all day. Because our tasks won't get better, we have to do that at work anyways. Get it out 4 times 90 seconds, I'll guarantee you that one. The next part is sleep. Everybody knows here that sleep regenerates, sleep heals, and especially your nerves. As I called this before, it's a biological chain reaction. To some extent and to some degree, your body will react better to stress if you sleep enough. Everybody here was grumpy. We see it when children don't sleep, how they get grumpy, but we're grown-ups, and like I said, we suppress our anger a little bit more than we should. Sleep well at night, get yourself some naps, it's good. The best part is having sex, actually. It releases a lot of tension, like I said before. There's nothing better, maybe chocolate, but that's not proven yet, to have sex. And what here is really, really, really the biggest mistake everybody does is that they take their work anger into their bedroom. They still are angry because they didn't let out the Hulk in us, so they go to their spouse and still tell them about their shitty day at work. And like I already said, anger and also stress is infectious, so your partner gets infected with that stress, and then nobody's gonna get sex, so everybody's sad. And chocolate can't heal anything. The most important part for me, as I mentioned a little bit earlier before, is a feedback cycle. If you have a feedback cycle for you, and it's only going to take 60 seconds a day, I'm going to guarantee you, will make your life better. Because a feedback cycle for me is I sit at night, after everything is done for the day, I sit there and I imagine myself the whole day again, and I ask myself, what went really good today? What went not that good today? And what do I want tomorrow to change? I do that every day, and everybody here does that. When you ate a whole box of chocolate, gummy bears, whatever, at night you say, tomorrow I'm gonna go to the gym. But you only do that once a day, or whenever you feel guilty. If you go into a feedback cycle because you want to lose weight, and you do that every day, after a while your brain will execute what you tell it to. If you tell yourself every night for 365 days that tomorrow you want to go to the gym, you will definitely go to the gym. Or do whatever you want to do. The last part we already had in the video before is the cell phone part, where you should take a rest from your cell phone. You should take a rest from your cell phone however you want. If you only want to use certain time frames for answering, that's okay. If you want to set it at night for snooze and don't do it, don't like right away grab your phone in the morning, totally okay. One thing you have to promise me is don't take your cell phone into the bedroom. If you have sex and you take your phone afterwards, nobody wants that. That is a universal rule. Nobody wants to see you on your cell phone after sex. These tips maybe can help you, but one thing which everybody here needs to realize is for themselves is their why. Because without a why, nobody will lose weight. Nobody will consolidate themselves about their stress. You need yourself a why. My why is my grandfather and great-grandfather died way too early with 45 because they stressed them out so much. I saw so many people die with 40 and 50 because they had so much stress. That is my why. I don't want to die with 45. What's your why?